Alrighty. Here we go.
Greetings, youth. This is Chandler Klein. You're listening to Poor Man's Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here at 565 Live in Bellevue with our guest, John Malecki. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful this evening. How are you gentlemen doing?
We are great. I'm so excited to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of yours. Well, obviously, we both grew up in Pittsburgh, so I first recognized the name from Pitt, and then, going on from there, from the pros to the Steelers. And I'm a big fan of woodworking as well. So I'm a big football fan, and I'm a woodworking fan, so that makes me a big fan of yours. I like people like Nick Offerman, who I'm sure you know. Some of these craftsmen. And I got into it from there, and then I saw you, and I was like, wasn't he the one on the Steelers? And I was like, he's an incredible craftsman and builder and everything. So, John, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into all of that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for having me on first and foremost. Love supporting some other local Yinzers that are grinding it out. I did a podcast for 3 years myself, and I understand the hustle, and I have a lot of respect for it.
It is appreciated.
My elevator story is I think it's kind of boring, but in a shorter way as possible. I grew up in Murraysville, which is about 20 minutes outside the city.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up playing football, focusing on sports. I was a large kid, so I was free help from my dad and my grandfather, because as a lot of families are in this area, they love to do things themselves in the cheapest and most affordable way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I was helping wheelbarrows and roofing, cutting grass, mulching, doing all that kind of stuff as a kid, while focusing on my athletic career. I was fortunate enough to take a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh, where I was a 4-year letterman. I was a captain my senior year, and had a really solid. It was actually, ironically, up until this last season, for the last 10-win season in like 35 years.
Yeah.
So it was seeing those guys come out last year and win the ACC and perform so well was awesome. And then I took my talents, if you could call them that, onto the NFL and gave that a shot. I bounced around for about 4 years, played for 5 different teams, mostly the Steelers. I went through 13 different cuts and transactions. And in the last season, I found the hobby of woodworking. Like I said, I was quite large in helping for my grandfather and my dad as a kid, so I was always using tools. And I picked up the hobby, having some familiarity with some of the basic power tools that go into carpentry work more than woodworking. And from there, I started building tables and stuff in my buddy's garage, and I started a little business with an old teammate of mine, and we parted ways, and I kind of kept building and focusing on the furniture side of what we were doing. And from that, I found Instagram to be a super powerful tool for finding new clients, bringing them in behind the scenes, showcasing my work and all kinds of stuff. So I started focusing on producing and growing content there. And after a while, I found that brands really like to see engaging and creative accounts. So I started working with some brands, getting some free tools and playing that game. Mm-hmm. And then that was about between, I would say 2014 to 2018, I was dabbling, doing both custom work and making content. And in 2018, I decided to kind of go full steam ahead at being a YouTuber and what you could call an influencer. And since then, I've been working and producing content full time for a living, while also making custom work and building furniture and doing DIY and remodeling and all that kind of fun stuff you see all over the internet and TV these days. And that's my short story. It's my elevator. Very long.
That's pretty sick. Dude.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you say that's incredible compared to the average person.
Yeah.
But the thing that blows me away, I think, the most out of all of that is you said you didn't really get into a lot of it until after you retired from football.
Yeah.
And you're incredible. Like, it looks like it's something you've done your entire life. So that's what it impresses me the most.
Right. Yeah. I'm on the same page as Chris.
So you said you helped out with your family while you were growing up, but I guess not as much as now, not doing that. I mean, I saw some of the tables you made. There was one that was like a spiral. Like, I don't even know how it stands, physically. some of that stuff is incredible, and I'm like thinking like if you use that functionally, you have to like. There's so much math involved and just intelligence, and like that kind of stuff is incredible to me. That just like the measuring beforehand and all that. I'm blown away.
It's above and beyond my comprehension.
It's so
like
cool.
I can't do that kind of stuff. So yeah, it impresses the hell out of me.
But so is it just from doing that as being younger, and that's what made you interested into doing it, or what? If you were like, my football days are probably behind me, and I want to get into something else. What made you choose that versus anything else?
Yeah, what a lot of people don't realize, we'll get a little deep here, is when you're playing college athletics at a high level, you don't have the time to go the traditional route of getting internships and getting experience to enter the workforce.
Right.
And it's just because, like, I graduated high school in May of 2006, and I was at Pitt in June 2006. Like, I had 1 week between. And then I didn't leave until I graduated in April 2010. Like, I lived there every summer. I went to school all year, all summer. You don't have time for internships. And so what happened was when I got done in the NFL, I think I was 23 years old, 24. I was super young for like adult life.
Yeah.
In the workforce, I had little to no experience, and I was less qualified because of my time away from college than younger people coming out directly from college with 1 or 2 years of internships and experiences. Right. And I have a business degree, so that stuff was beneficial. And I was able to get a lot of interviews, being captain in first football conference and all that at Pitt, and playing for whatever in that regard. But I just lacked the skills. And what I also realized was like the jobs that I had to compete for very entry level jobs, and you go from playing a sport on the highest level that is literally possible on the planet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get your feathers ruffled as much.
Right.
You're not as fired up. So I tried the self-employment thing. My mom owns a business, and I've always watched her hustle at it. And as a kid, I never really had a real job. If I ever wanted money, I would go hustle, and so I kind of just took that to it. I was super into like the home remodeling shows with Chip and Joanna.
Right.
Hell yeah, I love them.
We've all been victim of that. And Property Brothers and stuff, and I love the home remodeling space. My parents, my dad, they had a house that I helped remodel when I was like cutting between teams and stuff and whatnot. So I wanted to get somewhere into working with my hands, and I always knew, and still to this day know, that like for a lack of any skill or experience, I always know that I can put in the effort and I can do the work physically myself. If regardless of if someone thinks I'm qualified or if I'm not. And I kind of took that mindset to it, is I'll figure it out and I'll learn and I'll grow while I do so. So jumping into building custom furniture, I was taking on literally anything that came in the door. Like I was building outdoor Adirondack chairs. I was doing bookshelves. I was doing 2x4 coffee table kind of stuff. That took me into like a lot of reclaimed wood, old timbers coming out of like homes and stuff in the city of Pittsburgh kind of area. And I kind of found my way just meandering through the internet and picking up skills as I went. And I got to a point where I started really focusing on learning new skills. So I learned how to weld, to do some basic metal fabrication and whatnot. And then I learned to work with like larger format live edge kind of slabs and such. And that's kind of where we are today with the style that we put into our work and like the style I like to build in. But for a minute, I was just like the only guy in Pittsburgh doing reclaimed stuff with metal, and I was building a lot more metal, I guess, percentage-wise, metal furniture with wood accents. Not so much these days, but I was just always curious, dude, and I think that's an important part of owning a business, is to stay curious and constantly be learning and trying to improve on your knowledge base and your skill set. And when I got done with football, I was simply just curious. I wanted to learn. I wanted to do something with my hands. I like the feeling, the reward of creating things from nothing to something and bringing what could be like a visualization to the physical reality.
Having something to hold on to
absolutely.
after the fact.
I think at least for me, like if I'm even small scale, just doing whatever. At the end of the day, if there's something tangible that I can see, like there's an accomplishment feeling from that you can, you kind of feel gratified from doing something. You created something.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
That's super cool to see. We had, I think it was probably a year ago, one of my former high school football teammates. He played at Northwestern at a high level, defensive end, and he works with athletes, after they retire, and he said that's one of the things with them is like being at such a high level, you're used to this, and then where do you go from there? And it's like, where do you put this drive and this intensity that you're used to, and how do you work with that? It's cool to see, that kind of funneled into a different area, and how that can be, how you can do something incredible. The stuff you make, like I was saying, there was that one table, and you have to check out John's work. Check out his Instagram and his website. There's this like spiral table. There's this cave table he does that's incredible. There's a lot of stuff he does with the resin that's really, really cool. He does the Steeler table. Yeah. So you definitely have to check all that out. You really are. You're super talented. It's really cool to see that.
No, I really appreciate it. A lot of the stuff you'll see on my socials is simply just doing what I said before, being curious and being creative. Content wise, that type of stuff tends to perform better. And unfortunately, if you play that in that world and you're in that game, you're bound to trying to make the most interesting content that you can. And for a builder, it typically is going to lean a lot more into building interesting things. It's nice for me because it's like more of an artistic expression, and I get to build just pretty much the wildest stuff I can come up with and see if you dig it. But for the most part, you're right. Like when you were saying earlier, that table, I don't even know how it stands. Like it's in my office. Like I use it to hold like cups and stuff next to my water cooler. But it's not like you wouldn't have that in a home with a family. Because it's not the most.
If my kids went near that, they would be on the ground.
I don't want my daughter ever going near that. So, but it. When it comes down to it, is like I think there's some inspirational aspects and there's some like creative aspects for pieces like that show other people like you can push the limits and the boundaries of what's technically or typically considered to be furniture, or whatever kind of work you want to call it. And for me, that part's really enjoyable. It's a nice artistic release. When you work for customers consistently in any regard, you're typically bound to what the customer wants, and so that stuff for me is like the cool fun stuff that I can just do whatever I want. Like we're publishing a video on my YouTube channel next week that I literally hate. It was just pure artistic from start to finish. It's one of those just like stupid project. It's terrible. And then like 4 people have been through my shop in the last week where I'm sitting there like, that's cool as hell. I was like, dude, that's a turd. It's a polished turd. But you got to try those things and to realize that you don't like them too, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you talking it up, and a lot of people look at that and they're like, why? That's the point, is why?
Do you see it more like if you're like, say you're going out and you see a piece of wood or something, do you do it like you see it and you're like, that would be a good end table, or that would be this? Or do you go like, I want to build this, let's see what I have? Or is it a little bit of both? Like kind of like the songwriter. Do you write the lyrics or the music first?
Yeah.
Do you kind of have the idea or the piece of wood first?
I work from both sides of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'll see something, I'm like, ooh, that'd be super cool for this. Or like you said, I'll have an idea of something I want to make, and then I find a material that kind of fits it. I think when you're constantly like exploring, if you're in like just a purely creative mode, typically shape comes to mind first, and like trying to create a shape.
Yeah.
Then you bend the medium to it. And then most of the time on the other side of that spectrum is, like you said, if I see a piece that inspires me, that's normally going to be like I was at the sawmill a month or 2 ago, and I saw this massive willow slab that was like a damn Pringle chip. It was so curvy, and that's not a good thing when you're building furniture.
Right.
But I looked at it and I was like, if I cut it like these 4 different angles, I could probably flatten it, get some good yield out of that wood, and that'd be pretty solid. And so we're working on that project now, and that stuff tends to happen too. So yeah, I kind of falter into both sides of it. You don't have to excuse my dog ringing bells.
That's all
no,
good.
you're good. I thought there was somebody behind me.
That's what I thought too.
All the attention. He doesn't like that he's not on the podcast.
Well, yeah. He's actually the guest next week. It's
Yeah.
all the behind the scenes. But John, do you have like a favorite piece that you've done, or is there something that you're proud of more than others that maybe you worked harder on, and then something that you're proud of exactly?
I mean, I'm proud of most of the things I build.
Yeah.
But I will say that we've done a bunch of remodeling projects and work on my home.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's a lot of fulfillment and personal worth in creating something that you live in and use consistently. Like I do a lot of I'm at my house right now. I do a lot of like these interviews and stuff, and I'm sitting at a table that I built, in a chair that I built, in a room that I remodeled, next to a deck that I built, with doors that I built, next to a bar that I built. And it's just cool to like live and breathe.
That to me is just so like satisfying. Like I feel like that's the word. Like you just created that, and like I said earlier, like at the end of the day, there's that tangible thing. Like that wasn't there before, and not to sound like narcissistic, but like because of me, that's there now.
There
like,
now, yeah.
I did something, and I feel like you can get something out of that.
Right.
Yeah, and from a pride standpoint, that's kind of like that's where I find pride, and then the next evolution, the next step of that is like I get to share that with other people. And so for me, a lot of the building and a lot of what I do is because I do love and enjoy being inspiring and educational for other people, and that's why I create content. But in the same regard, I love bringing other people's dreams to life when I do custom work and commission work and stuff.
Yeah.
If someone comes with some wild or crazy idea, and I'm able to like take it from a non-physical, bring it to the real world. Get a lot of pride in that too. Myself and my team and everyone involved and whatnot. I would say most proud project I got a 20-foot deck sitting off the back of my house, and I sat on it and I was like, man, I've owned this house for, at the time it was like 3.5 years. I dreamed of this deck when I walked through the yard for the first time. And it was like went completely broke trying to buy it, and got to the point where I was sitting on it, just like watching the sun go down. I was like, man, this is what it's about. This is like this is the journey and that capstone on being a builder and being a maker and a creator and whatnot. So I'm proud of that. And it's one of the bigger projects, but totally worth it in the long time.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I love doing that. And like I said, like I feel like just having something tangible at the end of the day, it feels like accomplished, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Do you have any desire to get into like coaching or anything in like youth sports or high school or anything like that going forward? You see a lot of people, maybe they take some time off, but they have that love that they just can't shake. Is that something you still feel?
To be honest, no.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my wife and I we're moving to Pine Richland at the end of the summer, and like they have that whole coaching spiel and all that stuff.
Right.
And anyone I talk to is like, you should go coach. And coaching is like I'm losing the word right now. It's a very selfless thing, especially at that level. Those guys and girls put so much time and energy into coaching, and I played for the majority of my life, from 8 years old till I was 24, and for 16 years of my life, that's all I did and care about. And I'm like 9 years out now, and it still feels like it consumed all of my being for the longest time. So like, if I wanted to do it, I would have to put that much
back into it. Yeah,
that's just the type of person I'm like an all-in kind of person. And so maybe someday my daughter, is looking for a softball coach. And I want to join in. I'll dive into that, but I don't think I want to get into coaching football. I'm a lineman, so for me, I've done a lot of one-on-one coaching and some small group coaching and stuff over the years, where I do really enjoy helping out that individual. But you know, when you get to high school sports and communities, there's bureaucracies and
Yeah.
there's politics.
What about just like a position coach? I remember like in high school I only played high school, obviously. I'm 5'6". That's pretty much that was my hey man, I was a beast in the slot, but you know that was pretty much my
I
potential.
gotta ask what high school and how old are you guys?
Central Catholic. I graduated in 09, so I'm 30.
Gotcha. You're younger than me.
Yeah.
A little
we
bit.
played Central my freshman year, which would have been 2003, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I got a bunch of buddies that I played at Pitt with and went to Central, and they were on that. Eugene Jarvis and John Pelusi and Shane
Oh
Murray.
yeah, Jarvis. He graduated the year before me. He's like Shane Murray and people like
Yeah,
that.
they beat the brakes off of us.
Yeah, yeah.
So, wouldn't have been, but my senior year we were pretty good. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you know, Central was like college.
Yeah.
So like, I went to Franklin Regional, and it was super important. You know, to the coaches that participated with us too, and they were there like every free minute they had. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about Saturdays, Sundays,
Right.
And it's just something. It's a lot of time.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
and
selfless, like you
I
said.
commend those men who gave up that time. But I talk to them now, and they're like, you know, a lot of them retired because they want to spend time with their kids, and
Yeah.
their families, and I'm growing a business, and for me, that's my baby with my existing baby.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I don't have an inkling to coach right
Right.
now.
No, I feel like that's absolutely fair, and you're doing a great job with what you're doing. I don't think you should. I think you found your niche because you're killing it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
No, I appreciate it.
John, let me ask you kind of a random question before we wrap this up. Are you a fan of movies? Are you a movie buff at all?
I like movies. I don't get to watch as much as I would like.
Okay. Now, last year, we just had our 1 year anniversary last week, actually. So
Congrats.
thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So we asked our guests every week, like, who their least favorite movie character is. Just somebody who annoys them. Like I hate Jenny from Forrest Gump. There's people who just bother me. So we have a tournament going right now, but you're the first guest of year 2. So
True.
I would like to know if you have one who, like, just a movie character. They don't have to be awful as much, but like maybe they just annoy you or they stick out to you.
Your least favorite.
Right.
Movies are tough because
Or TV.
Yeah.
TV?
Yeah.
TV's fair.
We'll open it up to TV
no
this
one,
year.
No one will ever beat Skylar from Breaking.
Hell yeah! Isn't she in the bracket?
Skylar is in this.
Yeah, man.
Comedian Corey Brennan in Pittsburgh.
Man,
Yeah.
fuck her. We hate
has-
her.
Skylar White, I think, is actually she's in the Sweet 16 right now.
Yeah, she is. She
was so
moved
terrible.
on.
I mean,
Yeah.
that show is like 12 years old. Like
Yeah.
right now, it just still burned in my brain.
Yeah.
But what's the wife? We just watched season 4 of Ozark.
Oh,
Wendy.
Wendy this
Yeah.
year.
We hate
She's
Wendy
also
too,
in
man.
the Sweet
She's also in the
16,
Sweet
John.
16. You are on point, my man.
Wow, 2 for 2 for
That's
for,
what
for
I'm
that.
saying.
But absolutely, and now I agree with Skylar White being awful. But the more I think about it, is like, am I just mad at her because she didn't want her husband making meth in her house with her kids? Like,
That's supposed
I
that's
hate her,
supposed
but
to be
maybe I
your
should.
ride or die, man. She's supposed to have your back no matter what.
Yeah, I don't
It
know.
wasn't necessarily how she felt about it; it's the way she projected.
Yes.
It was like,
Yeah. Very true.
But, I mean, Wendy had some real strong Skylar feels this
Oh,
season.
for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely,
For
man.
sure.
Absolutely.
Those
we
are both
we
fine.
hate them both. We hate them both. Shit.
John, I lied. I have one more question before we wrap it up, because I saw on your Instagram you had a picture with the 2-time X IPA, the 2-time Haze from Southern Tier,
Yeah.
which is one of our I love Southern Tier. Do you have a
Love
what's your
Southern
favorite beer right now?
Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. I'm drinking anything juicy and anything hazy, pretty much.
I'm with you.
Right
I
on.
don't. There's what's it? Shoe Brew up north. My buddies are loving.
Yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
favorite Pittsburgh brewery. My favorite beer is gonna be the is gonna be from the guys over at Brew Gentleman, General Braddock's.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we were
Chris
just
is
talking
drinking.
about
What are you
my
drinking
beer
tonight?
of the week right now is Brew Gentleman's Albatross, but we had General
I haven't
Braddock.
got
It's
it.
delicious.
So Asa and Matt and I, we go way back, and I was like, I texted Asa. I was like, dude, how come I haven't had any albatross right yet? You know, like
Yeah.
everyone's hyping it up right now. But I moved out of Braddock, so I don't see him as often. But yeah, those guys make some good stuff.
Yeah. But that's awesome. Those are good answers.
Very sick.
John, thank you for giving us an answer,
man.
too.
Yeah, that
There you
was
go.
yeah.
Not
very
beating
into it.
around the bush.
Nah.
But, John, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, check me out. I'm on YouTube, John Malecki Builds, or on Instagram, Facebook. Just my name. Put it in wherever. I think I'm the only one that's wasting their time making videos and content and stuff. So I should be the first one to pop up. Yeah.
You're lucky that you have a unique last name. It's not Smith.
It's not Smith. Yeah.
Yeah. John Smith Builds would be rough.
Yeah, that wouldn't be as unique. No.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't get as many. I'd probably get more people knowing how to pronounce it instead of
Yeah. Do you get Malachi?
Malachi.
Malachi.
Yeah.
Maliki.
Maliki Ma.
All the time, so I'm totally cool with it.
That's
No
awesome.
doubt.
But John, thank you so much for Cheech. Let's wrap this up.
Right on, man.
For John, for Cheech, I'm Chris. Thank you for listening.
We appreciate all of you guys.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We hope you had a good time. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the show to catch the latest episodes and share with your friends. We can't promise not to embarrass you. And if you just can't get enough, follow us on Instagram at Poor Man's Podcast 412, Twitter at Poor Man's Pod 412, and Facebook. This is Pittsburgh's own Poor Man's Podcast signing off. See you next week.